Guys, this is the best combination to fight pollen allergies. Yeah, I know I have to dress like this so I don't suffer. If you want to physically block the pollen, yes. Anyway, today in this video we're going to take a closer look at pollen allergies and figure out what the best techniques are. Besides this one, and most importantly, let's try to understand how antihistamines work, but especially why some of them make you sleepy. Some plants and some herbs produce pollen in order to reproduce, and pollen, basically, it's like the sperm of these plants, meaning cells that carry the male gametes. So they are microscopic particles, practically invisible to the naked eye, and naturally these particles, pollen, need to reach the female gamete of the plants. They get carried by animals like insects and birds, by water, but most of all by the wind. And that's why these microscopic particles can be present in the air. Then, when we're outdoors, we inevitably come into contact with them. They stick to our clothes, our hair, we breathe them in, and they can get into our eyes. And this is where, if we're allergic, things really get chaotic on a biochemical level in our bodies. Basically, as soon as pollen enters our body, and that's when special antibodies are produced, immunoglobulin E, also known as IgE, to fight off the pollen. What's the problem? The problem is that these antibodies, in turn, cause the body, after a series of biochemical reactions, to also produce histamine. And histamine is the #1 enemy of people with allergies. In fact, it's a truly irritating substance that inflames the mucous membranes in our nose and eyes, causing itching, a runny nose, conjunctivitis, watery eyes, coughing, a whole mess also known as allergic rhinitis or hay fever. And that's why histamine is the cause of these symptoms. And that's why antihistamines exist. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, so before taking any medication, always consult your doctor to make sure there aren't any serious adverse reactions. Today, we just want to explain how antihistamines work in general, but especially why some of them make you sleepy. Well, it all depends on the type of antihistamine. So basically, antihistamines contain active ingredients that are able to block the action of histamine. And that's where the name comes from, antihistamines. They do this by trying to bind to the receptors in place of histamine. They literally steal its spot. There are first-generation and second-generation antihistamines. First-generation antihistamines have a particular side effect. They can enter the brain, cross the blood-brain barrier, and also bind to the receptors that regulate sleep, which is why they make you drowsy. The active ingredients in second-generation antihistamines, on the other hand, have a different chemical structure, so they have a different chemical nature compared to those of the first generation. And this reduces their ability to enter the brain. So they don't make you drowsy, or at least much less so. In any case, we repeat, always consult your doctors and pharmacists and always read the medication leaflet. But now the real question is, what can we do to stop suffering from this? Seriously, so many of you have written to me, please, DeNa, tell us what we should do. I'm going crazy. I can't take it anymore. Don't worry, I'm here. So there is a method that is the best way to fight allergies, and the Italian National Institute of Health tells us about it. The best way to fight allergies is to try to avoid contact with the allergenic substance. Super easy. Guys, are you allergic to pollen? Don't come into contact with pollen. No, come on guys, jokes aside, what the National Institute of Health says makes perfect sense. I mean, the best way to fight it isn't with medications or weird methods. Homemade remedies, finding strange things online, no. But it's really about physically preventing them from coming into contact with us. So, if we're outdoors, what can we do? I know guys, I know, don't hate me. We all know it. Masks are annoying, but is it better to wear a mask or suffer from allergies? It's up to you, think about it. Masks are literally filters that physically block particles, including pollen, while glasses can help, so that nothing gets in. The best would be to walk around with goggles like the ones you use for swimming because they completely cover your eyes, but I think that would look pretty ridiculous. But hey, everyone does what they want, right? Actually, I wouldn't judge you if you did it. You'd have my utmost respect. If we're at home, on the other hand, then first of all, let's remember to close the windows. Maybe when we first wake up, we can open them for 10 to 15 minutes just to air out the room. But then let's close them so we avoid letting the wind bring in millions of pollen particles. You could also consider buying an air purifier. There are tons of them online from different brands. The important thing is that they have EPA filters, high-efficiency particulate air. They suck in the air and filter out dust and pollen. And if we already have one, so if we already have an air purifier, let's remember to take out the filters and clean them regularly. Same goes for the car's air filters. Maybe this is something we forget to do or we just don't do it. Ask your trusted mechanic to clean the filters for you or to replace them if they're too old. In general, since pollen sticks to our clothes, our hair, and all over our bodies, let's make sure to clean ourselves regularly. Even for your nose, you can actually do nasal rinses with a saline solution to remove any pollen that might be stuck. Change your sheets regularly and wash any clothes that have been in contact with the outdoors. If, despite all these practical tips, you're still really suffering, once again, consult your doctor. They might prescribe you antihistamines or even corticosteroids. And in more severe cases, immunotherapy, which is kind of like a vaccine. Immunotherapy, also known as hyposensitization or desensitization, actually involves taking the allergen, in this case pollen, in gradually increasing amounts or having it injected under the skin of your arm, at weekly intervals or with tablets that you place under your tongue. There may also be other treatments. In general, though, it can last for years. In any case, these are all things that specialized doctors will explain to you if needed. One last quick thing. How can I tell if I'm allergic to pollen? And if so, which types of pollen? First of all, if I have a lot of symptoms like coughing, itching, or a runny nose that comes back every year in the spring, it's probably that. But you can also do specific tests like the prick test, where a drop containing the allergen is placed on your arm. A small prick is made with a little needle so that the liquid enters the skin, and if there's a reaction, a bump forms, what's called a wheal. There can also be redness around it called erythema, so if that happens, you're probably allergic to that allergen. Alright guys, I hope this video was helpful for you. I wish you all the best getting through this pollen season calmly. As always, we'll see each other here on Geopop, Science in Everyday Life.